While Atlantis has been a mystery for thousands of years, there are baffling disappearances in our modern-day world. In 1912, outside Bangor, Maine, a large barn vanished silently in the night mist. In 1872, the riverboat Iron Mountain, with 55 passengers and crew, left Vicksburg bound for Louisville and Cincinnati. The Iron Mountain vanished. No wreckage, no cargo, all gone without a trace. On September 23, 1880, outside Gallatin, Tennessee, farmer David Lang walked into his pasture and vanished. This strange disappearance was witnessed by two guests, one a judge and Lang's family. When they reached the spot, they found nothing. Under persistent questioning by the authorities, the stories of all the witnesses remained the same. David Lang was never heard from again. And in Wales in 1909, an 11-year-old lad named Oliver Thomas was sent to the well for water. Seconds later, he emitted a cry for help. The last words little Oliver ever said were, "Help, they're taking me away." In 1939, 2,988 Chinese troops were stationed south of Nanking to hold off the attacking Japanese forces. Less than 2 hours after they arrived, the first hint of trouble came. They failed to respond to radio communication, and all the search parties ever found was equipment, guns, and cooking fires. Also, during the Spanish War of Secession, 4,000 soldiers vanished in the Pyrenees. In this instance, even their equipment and horses vanished. In 1885, French colonial forces, about 600 in number, were marching in French Indochina. At last report, they were 15 miles from Saigon. They were in open country and not under attack. They all vanished, and not one body or a single piece of equipment was ever found. A most fascinating case in the annals of missing persons centers around the Navy L-8 blimp. This actual Navy film was taken previously at Moffett Field. In 1942, in the San Francisco harbor, the L-8 with 2 Navy men aboard spotted an oil slick and went closer to investigate. 2 patrol boats stood watching. Suddenly, without warning, the blimp soared upward into a huge cloud. Anxiety-ridden observers waited to know its fate. Later, the blimp descended rapidly, and there was no one in it. The crew had vanished, never to be seen again. The Navy had no explanation. Clouds often seem to play a large part in these mysterious disappearances. Even more interesting is the fact that there are many reports of clouds in connection with UFO phenomena. In the Bible, there are numerous references to clouds. For instance, in Exodus 19:9, we are told, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud." And in Exodus 12:21, "The Lord went before by day in a cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light." Mythology and American Indian legends persist in their chronicalization of the flight of spirits and gods in cloud-like vehicles. Here we have lenticular clouds, which are often mistaken for flying saucers. However, meteorologists are quick to explain how they are formed and that there is nothing unearthly about them. But an interesting point to remember is that many experts feel that flying saucers are many times mistaken or explained away as clouds. Many experts go further for a battery of technical reasons to believe that clouds are, in many instances, formed as a camouflage for extraterrestrial vehicles. It becomes especially intriguing when we learn that clouds seem to be an ever-present specter centering around mysterious disappearances in the Devil's Triangle. An interesting incident in this dreaded sector of the Savage Sea involves a National Airlines 727 and a strange time lapse. The national plane was on approach to landing from the northeast. Suddenly it disappeared from the radar screen, only to reappear 10 minutes later. When the plane landed without incident, the crew was unaware of this strange occurrence. When they were informed by the tower, they checked their watches and discovered to their amazement that they were uniformly 10 minutes slow according to real time. Especially mysterious because a routine check 20 minutes before the incident showed no time discrepancy. 2 of the most famous cases centered around the unexplained disappearances of the USS Cyclops and a British vessel also named Cyclops. A post-war check of German sub-operations revealed no activity in either case. The Devil's Triangle extends from Bermuda in the north to southern Florida, and then east to a point through the Bahamas, past Puerto Rico, to approximately 40 degrees west longitude, and then back once again to Bermuda. Within this area lies the Sargasso Sea, a sea of lost ships covered with living rootless weed. It was within this sea that Christopher Columbus reported being trapped in the weed and the wild fluctuation of the ship's compass. The most interesting part of the journey in this sea of fear was on September 15, 1492, when Columbus logged the sighting of a UFO. On December 5, 1945, 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers were headed for the Sargasso Sea on a routine training flight. 1 hour and 45 minutes later, the control tower was advised that not one of the 5 navigators knew where he was. Moments later, a radio transmission from the flight leader was cut in mid-sentence. Nothing was ever heard from any of them again. An air and sea search began immediately. A Martin Mariner flying boat with rescue and survival equipment headed for the presumed position of the planes. Once again, radio contact was lost. Tragedy repeated itself as the Mariner also vanished without a trace. An extensive air-sea search involving over 250 planes and ships began immediately. They crisscrossed for hours in that little patch of the Sargasso Sea. Not a shred of evidence was ever found. A Naval Board of Inquiry reported, "We are not able to make even a good guess as to what happened." The Navy Avengers, a famous case that once again involves instrument malfunction, human disorientation, and instant oblivion over these mysterious waters.